Do you know about the Tooth Fairy child? I don't doubt that you know the name, but I very much doubt that you know her for what she truly is, and perhaps more importantly, for what she is not. She is not a beautiful fairy sprinkling enchanted dust to and fro, giving out trinkets to children in exchange for pieces of bone. That is a lie. Even that title she took for herself, Tooth Fairy, is an insult, a final mockery of those she has murdered. She is not of the Fae. I don't blame you for not knowing, child, for how could you? You have never seen her hideous palace of bones, never heard the baleful cries of those poor souls lost in her realm of shadows, condemned to forever search for the pieces of themselves that they gave to her for pocket change, never had to watch those you hold dear savagely butchered for her greed and demented amusement, or had to flee from the horrid and deformed abominations that serve her will. And I doubt you even know why the teeth of your kind mean so much to her. You come from a forgetful people, child. Your people once understood the magic of blood and bone, and the power that one could attain when it is offered willingly in sacrifice. She has buried truth in half-truths and pretty deceptions. It is how she preys upon your kind, and however much it pains me, I am powerless to stop her now. It is too late for me, little one. I am one of the dead and forgotten. My name is lost to the ages, and my time is done. But there is hope for you, if you but heed my warning. Do not take part in her blasphemous rituals. Do not give her your teeth. If you have already given her your teeth, then great suffering lies ahead of you, child. For the curse is now binding, and your only path to freedom is to reclaim what she has taken through trickery from you. You must find the rats, for the rats are her servants, her very eyes and ears, and her collectors. It is they that squirm beneath your pillow in the night to take your offering to her. If you can, you must kill the rat before it can escape back into the tunnel between your realm and hers. To you, it will not look much different than a simple mound dug into the earth, but you will know it by the strong smell of sulfur. Once you have killed the rat, it must be burned, and your tooth must be sealed in a box of salt and wolf's bane. This is the only way to deny her foul sorcery. Should you fail and the rat escapes, you will have no choice but to pursue it into her realm, and I pray it does not come to that, little one. If you must, though, simply reach your hand into the mound. It will expand at your touch, for the Tooth Fairy enjoys the fresh meat of your kind as much as your bones, and thusly she will not deny you passage. The journey through the tunnel will be long, cramped, and shrouded in darkness. When you reach the other side, you will come to a cliff overlooking a great chasm filled with mist. Within the mist, you will see the massive dark shapes of the old ones as they churn back and forth in their dreamless slumber. Do not be afraid, child, for they will not awaken unless you scream. You may want to turn back at this point, but that will be impossible. You have entered her world now, and she will close the tunnel behind you. After that, the only way out will be down. You must jump, little one, into the chasm and past the slumbering old ones. The fall will take hours, and as you fall, you will see many bright colors and breathtaking rock formations on the wall of the chasm meant to distract you. You must ignore them, for if you stare at them too long, you will miss the pool of black water at the chasm's bottom that you must land in if you are to survive. Otherwise, your body will smash against the rock floor and become a feast for the worms and maggots that dwell there. If you can make it into the water, then there is hope for you, child. You must swim onto the shore and follow the path of white stones forward. Eventually, you will see the forest of thorns, and beyond that, her terrible fortress of bone. It is here that you will have a choice. You could choose to follow the path through the forest, or you could go around. The path through the forest is the quickest way to the fortress, but the path is treacherous, and should you stray from it, you could end up in the web of one of the giant spiders that will be watching you from the trees. Should you choose to go around, the path will be much clearer, but you will find yourself exposed to the lingering spirits of the lost that wander her realm. They will hate you for living and attempt to punish you for the suffering she has inflicted on them. Whatever your choice you make, your goal will be her throne room, and once you make it to her fortress, the peril you face will only multiply. Many monsters serve the Tooth Fairy, but the worst you will face is the gargoyles, creatures of stone and cruelty that hunt by scent. Do not let them scratch you, child, or you will turn to stone. The corridors and pathways throughout the castle are countless, but if you keep going up, you will reach the throne room, child. You will know it by the blinded phoenix that guards it. It is a magnificent bird with crimson wings that once radiated with the bright magic of summer, now a shadow of what it once was, subjugated into her service. If you leave the great beast an offering of a rose as dictated by ancient tradition, it will be silent as you pass. If not, it will be forced to alert the throne room to your presence, and you will surely die. Once you enter the throne room, you will need to take your tooth from her, but your tooth will be upon the crown of teeth she wears upon her bloodied brow. It will not be easy, child. She will wear the face of someone you love and call to you in the sweetest of voices to reveal yourself. You must not. If you do, she will devour you. Be brave, child. You don't need to overpower her. You just need to lay your hands on the tooth she stole. If you grab one that is not yours, your death will be unspeakable. But if you grab your own, she will have no power over you. The castle ceiling will split, and the throne room will be bathed in a column of silver fire, and you will find yourself at home. I've done all I can for now, child. This has been my warning. I hope you heed it. We call them clingers at the station. I know we really shouldn't, but thinking of them as people just makes the job so much harder than it already is. I am a first response paramedic, the one that arrives at the scene of a serious accident or injury to stabilize the patient before the ambulances take over. I've seen a lot of things that I wish I hadn't. I've seen car crash victims with limbs occupying seats that the rest of them wasn't. I've seen motorbike riders that have skidded on asphalt at 150 kilometers per hour without protective gear. I've seen what a sawn-off shotgun does to a human face. All those things take a toll, but nothing gets me quite like clingers do. You see, most people think death is quick. It isn't. Even when subjected to enormous physical trauma, the human body can survive for a surprising length of time. Bleeding to death, particularly internally, can take minutes even if almost every bone is broken and the organs are damaged beyond repair. Massive hemorrhaging reduces blood flow to critical organs, which causes blood acidity to rise and body temperature to reduce. Clotting responses are impaired, meaning bleeding cannot be stopped. Death is inevitable, but in a cruel twist, it takes time. time spent suffering and clinging to pointless life. Every time, their reaction is one of surprise and often regret. People think that jumping off a building or stepping in front of a train will end their existence in the blink of an eye. If they're lucky, they pick a very tall building or a very fast train, but often they don't. They lie broken on the concrete, slowly drowning in their own blood, with their eyes expressing utmost regret. They never expected to suffer in this way, and all I can do is sit with them to provide something that resembles companionship as they slip away. What bothers me about these clingers is not the regret on their faces as they die, though. It is the wide-eyed expressions that almost looks fearful as they finally drift off the mortal coil that chills my blood. The night that haunts me to this day saw me sitting in the misty rain beside the train line, holding a young woman's hand as she slowly choked on her own blood and gore. She had stepped out too late, they almost all do. The impact is with the edge of the train, deflecting off the track rather than throwing them under the carriages. The results are rarely immediately fatal. A look of shock and sadness filled her eyes as she contemplated how 40,000 tons of freight train had failed to end her in an instant. Her eyes slowly transitioned to an expression of fear as they all do. But this woman talked. "I can see what's holding." She trailed off, coughing as blood filled her mouth again. "I can see what's holding the light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't want to die anymore." I'm surprised I'm alive. I know you don't know what I'm talking about, but damn it, I can't believe I made it out of that hell. Okay, now to warn you about what I'm talking about. You see, there's this road, but it's not just any road. It's not like I can actually give you directions to find it. It only appears when someone is in a state of doubt. Like myself, for instance, I was in doubt of my girlfriend's love and loyalty. 2 days ago, she told me she was sick and couldn't come over that night. Me being me, told her that I understood and wished her to get better. I decided that I'd go out with a buddy of mine since she was sick. We went to the mall to hit up the arcade. We was like an hour in and having fun when I could have sworn I seen my girlfriend Jessica walking with a guy I didn't recognize. I took off after them, but when I rounded the corner, they were gone. My friend came from behind me, tapping my shoulder, making me jump a little. "Hey man, what happened? You just bolted out of nowhere," he asked in a worried tone. I shook my head and replied back with, "No, I'm good. I just thought I saw someone, that's all." I looked at him with a reassuring smile. After I got home, I called her and she didn't pick up. Was I just being paranoid? I was known to be sometimes. I hate to admit it, but it's true, unfortunately. I tried calling a couple more times and still I got nothing. I didn't even bother leaving a voicemail because this is something I wanted to talk to her in person. I stayed in the house the next night, which leads me to tonight. I haven't spoke to her since she told me she was sick, and I did try calling her yesterday at least 3 times, but it was the same. I didn't try calling her today. I needed time to myself, so I waited until it started getting dark out. It was then I decided to go out for a walk. I strapped on my shoes and put on my hoodie just in case it was too cold out. It was a little cold, but it didn't bother me to keep my hoodies on, so I did. I had been walking for 30 minutes when I came up upon this random road. I call it a random road because it's never been here before. I've lived in this area for all my life, plus I've always walked along this part of town, and this road wasn't here. Curiosity took over, so I started to walk down it. It was odd. The way the trees lined up the road in the dim moonlight made it seem ominous. I was about to turn around to go back, but when I turned around, I seen what looked like a man walking in my direction. I decided against it and continued forward to try to get away from the man. It looked like he had a knife, and I wasn't down to get stabbed on a road I have never been on before. 15 minutes later, I peeked over my shoulder to see if he was still there, and he was, but this time he was closer. Sweat started dripping out of my paws. I was fucking scared. I heard his footsteps get louder and louder, all up until I heard them break out into a run, so I ran too. I do not want to find out why he was following me, but little did I know, I had more to worry about. No matter how fast I ran, I made no progress, and he was right on my heels. He lunged at me, and I jumped to the side of the road. I hit my head on a rock. I could feel the blood dripping from over my right eye. I then remembered why I had jumped and hit my head on the rock. I quickly jumped to my feet and looked around for the man who had been chasing me, but he wasn't there. "Who the fuck is there?" I shouted, trying to sound intimidating, but honestly, I sounded like an idiot, but I was met with silence. I waited for a bit, but nothing happened. I decided to go home at that point, but when I tried, it felt like I walked into a wall. I stood there baffled by this. I put my hand out in front of me and moved it forward until it stopped. It had felt as if I was touching a wall, but there was nothing there. I dropped my head to the ground and I saw a piece of paper with writing on it on the ground. I bent down to pick it up, and once I had it in my hand, dread washed all over me instantly. The paper read, "You are not allowed to go this way. You have entered my domain, and the only way for you to leave is to continue down my road. That's if you can survive." I dropped the paper and signed. Fuck, this is just great. I wanted time to clear my head now. I got more shit to deal with. I decided to go ahead and continue down this evil road, although I didn't want to. I may be mad, but I am also terrified. It didn't take long for things to happen. First were the screams. It sounded like thousands of people were being brutally murdered. Like they were screaming as if being stabbed repeatedly. I saw no one, just the road. It's just me and this fucking road. The screams lasted for what seemed like forever, and then just like that, they stopped. Sweet relief for my ears, which felt like they were bleeding, and when I checked, sure enough, they were. I kept walking down the road, and I got the sudden urge to just run, and that's exactly what I did. I couldn't control myself. It just happened, but when I looked behind me, I'm glad I did. Behind me, there were 4 men looking like dogs chasing me, ready to sink their teeth in my ass. I shouldn't have kept looking at them, because when I had finally looked back to the front, I saw him. Him. Him as in the man who was following me earlier, and I was right. He did have a knife, and it was stained with blood. Dry blood, so it wasn't recent. Maybe a couple days old at most. I looked behind me, and to my surprise, the dogs were gone. The man started to speak once I looked back at him. "You shouldn't have come to my road," he said as he stepped closer. The moonlight hit his face, and then it hit me. It was the same guy I thought I seen my girlfriend with. at the mall. He started walking in my direction, knife in hand. I tried to tell him to stay away, but I couldn't form the words. I tried to run, but I couldn't move. He just kept walking, an eerie smile on his face as he continued his advance. The closer he got, images flooded my vision, and these images were some of the most horrible things I've seen, and I wish I hadn't. The images were of him and my girlfriend, them walking in the mall, him taking her home, and then he tied her up and gutted her slowly. The image is too gruesome for me to go into full detail, and I don't really feel like vomiting again. But as the images fade, the man came back into view, and he was in my face. So close, I could feel his breath on my face. I was so freaked out, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't move, I couldn't speak. He leaned in closer and whispered into my ear, "You will die, but not today." As soon as he spoke those words, he was gone, and I was back on a familiar road, but the entrance to that road that I was on was gone. I made it out alive. I made it through. I made it through that torment, and now I'm here warning you that if you ever see a road that you don't remember being there when you're doubting things in your life, don't go down it. It's not worth it. I don't know if my girlfriend is alive or dead, but I'm going to find out. Be safe, guys. 2 days ago, a man was arrested at his girlfriend's home. His girlfriend was dead, and he was found holding her body. The police arrested the man and locked him up. Yesterday, I took his life while he was in jail, because once you enter my road, you will never be able to escape me.